As you get older, you start to appreciate being alone a little more. The quiet starts feeling less like loneliness and more like relief. Nobody to perform for, an evening that belongs to no one but you. But you're a social animal, wired all the way down to need other people. And alone is a dial, not a switch. Turn it far enough, and the quiet you've come to love turns on you. Your own mind starts filling the silence with things that were never there. So how long can you actually be alone before it breaks you? Friday night, your home or your room to yourself. No plans. You order what you want, watch your show with nobody talking over it, scroll a little. Your nervous system finally unclenches. No one to answer to, no one needing anything from you. But notice, you're not really alone in that room. You've got the whole world sitting in the palm of your hand. The screen is keeping you company. For one night, that works beautifully. Push it past one night, and that little screen starts to show you what it actually is. Give it a whole weekend. By Sunday, something's off. The scroll isn't landing like it did on Friday. You've burned through a whole season of something, 8-10 hours of other people's lives, and you feel emptier, not fuller. There's a reason. To a social animal, other people aren't a luxury. They're food. Loneliness is literally a hunger for them. The same alarm bell as thirst or an empty stomach. Wired just as deep, built to push you out the door to find company. And a screen is a snack. Scrolling, binging, texting, there's even a name for it, social snacking. It tastes like connection. It's got none of the nutrition. It'll quiet the ache for an hour and never once feed you. So 2 days in, the hunger's back, and you catch yourself talking out loud to the empty kitchen, humming, singing to yourself, just to hear a voice. Push it to 3-4 days. Just you. Now, time comes apart in your hands. You look up and honestly can't tell if 20 minutes passed or the whole afternoon. The days melt into one long, gray room. And that voice narrating in your head, it stopped waiting for anyone. It asks a question and answers itself, both parts in your own voice, because the other half of every conversation you were built for is just gone, and your brain is quietly covering both roles. Past a week alone, the wall between what's in your head and what's in the room goes thin. This is where a deprived brain starts acting up, inventing people, characters, company. First, you hear them. Your name, a knock, footsteps in an empty place. Then you see them, a flicker of someone at the edge of the room, gone when you turn. Lock a person in true isolation, and this can start within hours. Leave you alone with your own mind for days, and it gets there by itself. You start talking to the furniture. And somewhere in you quietly, you start waiting for it to answer. Because your brain cannot do one thing, sit in an empty room and leave it empty. So it fills the chair itself. It makes up the people you're missing. And it doesn't much care whether they're real. And every bit of that you chose. You could have called someone, walked outside, ended it in a second. So what happens to a mind when alone stops being a choice and becomes something done to you on purpose? Picture the smallest version of it, a concrete room the size of a normal sedan's parking space. 23 hours a day, no real human contact, for as long as they say. And you already know in your gut this is wrong because you've seen it. In a dog. Picture one left too long in an animal shelter, the pacing, the spinning, the barking at nothing, and then the worst stage, where it just stops, lies down facing the wall, and won't lift its head when you come near. That's what happens when a social animal is cut off from being social. We call it cruelty. We write laws against it. Then we take a human being, a far more social animal than any dog, and do the exact same thing on purpose and call it discipline. However, the world does draw a line. The United Nations says past 15 straight days in isolation, it's no longer punishment. It's torture. 15 days. By then, it has a clinical name, isolation syndrome. The walls seem to breathe. Voices that won't leave. In one study of people held like this, about a third were actively psychotic or actively suicidal. The thing you did for a cozy weekend, stretched 2 weeks against your will, breaks one person in 3. Now leave someone in there, not days, months, years. This is where the damage stops being a feeling and turns physical. Put someone who's lived in long-term isolation into a brain scanner and you can see it. The hippocampus, your memory, your sense of where you even are, physically shrinking. The chemistry that keeps you steady, draining away. None of it heals when they unlock the door. It walks out with you. Robert King spent 29 years in solitary. He said the part that haunted him wasn't his own suffering. It was watching the men around him come apart, one by one, from nothing but the absence of other people. He came out and found the urge to talk had simply died in him. 29 years. And King was one of the strong ones, which brings us to the far edge of what a person has ever been made to survive. His name was Albert Woodfox, and he spent 43 years alone in a cell the size of a bathroom, 6 feet by 9, 23 hours a day for more than 4 decades, the longest stretch in solitary in American history. For a murder he always swore he didn't commit. On a conviction the courts overturned 3 separate times. Just think about it. 43 years. A social animal, the kind that's supposed to come apart in days, sealed off from his own species longer than most of us keep a job or a marriage. Longer than a lot of you have been alive. On his 69th birthday, Albert Woodfox stepped into the sun a free man, and the book he wrote about it was titled Unbroken. He had survived the only way anyone could. He turned that tiny cell into a classroom, taught men he couldn't see, held his own mind together with his bare hands year after year, and refused to let the room have him. But unbroken was never the same as untouched. He came out into a world where, in his own words, everything was a first-time experience, a grown man learning all over again how to stand near other people without flinching. The fear of small spaces never fully let go. Woodfox proved a human mind can take 43 years of silence and still come out whole enough to tell you about it. He also showed you, to the bone, what it charges. So, where's the real line? The point you don't come back from? The honest answer, there isn't a clean one. There's no exact day where something snaps and the damage is permanent. But you don't need the exact day, because you've already seen the answer. Pull a dog out after long enough in the shelter, and some never trust the world again. You go and watch men in those cells, and some break in months. A rare few hold for decades, but not one walks out the way they walked in. That's the red line for being alone. Not a temperature, not a dose. The place where silence stops being something you sit in and becomes something that rewrites you. From a Friday night you'd guard with your life, to a weekend where the scroll quits working and you're humming to the kitchen, to a brain inventing voices by week 1, to the 15 days the world calls torture, to one man who gave 43 years to a 6 by 9 room and never fully came home. Alone is a dial. So be honest one more time. Where do you land on it? How long could you really last in the quiet before it stopped being quiet? Tell me in the comments.